It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did she have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Wednesday morning. Well, the Vegas Golden Knights did it, and the Oklahoma City Thunder are one win away from doing it after a night of playoff action. Vegas Golden Knights, 2-1 winners over Colorado Avalanche, the 1 seed in the Western playoffs. The team that had the best record in the regular season. And Vegas sweeps them out of the playoffs. Sweeps them out. Never in a million years did I think that would happen. It did. I think that Tortorella hire has got to go down as one of the best ever. I mean, that's just, I'm not a big fan of midseason coaches, especially that late in the season. That just seems like placing blame on somebody, pointing a finger, looking for a scapegoat, rearranging the deck chairs, all the cliches. But man, it's paid off. They sprinted to the finish line in a division where the line between winning the division and missing the playoffs was actually fairly narrow. It was fairly, if they had collapsed there at the end of the season, they could have blown everything. But instead, they finished strong. They win the division, and now they won 3 playoff series, and they're going back to the Stanley Cup Finals. 3rd time in their 9-year existence. And you look at it, and they only finished 9 points in front of San Jose, who missed the playoffs. And also, I guess, 9 points in front of St. Louis as well. They won their division with 95 points, and with 90, the Kings were just 5 points behind them, and the Kings had to play Colorado right out of the gate as the 8th seed. Maybe Vegas could have beaten them right out of the gate as the 8th seed, but just a phenomenal run to close the regular season, win the division, and now win 3 playoff series. Super frustrating for Utah Mammoth fans. I get that. It was, Game 5 looked like it was there for the taking, and they were going to take the lead, and then it slips away, and Vegas closes them out in Game 6. So, I mean, these things happen. The margins are narrow. It's painful watching Vegas advance. On the other hand, maybe it tells you you're not that far away, and you ought to have a lot of hope for this next season. Vegas is in the Stanley Cup Final. They're going to get the winner of Carolina and Montreal. Carolina's up 2-1 and playing tonight, Game 4 in that Eastern Conference Final. Can't believe Colorado got swept out. 121 points. Gone. Amazing. Never would have predicted that. I did predict that the Thunder would win Game 5, and I've got to say that they continue to surprise me. I mean, I think they're the better team. They're going to win the series, and I think they're going to win the championship. But there's so many chances of them to take control, be dominant, break the other guy's will. They seem to pass on those chances within games and within series. And I can't explain it other than say maybe it's something about the nature of the game being so three-point dependent that you can't shoot the 3 well all the time, and you have a bad quarter, you let somebody back in, or somebody else gets hot, they get back in, or maybe the same thing within a game. But I thought the Spurs were up 2-1, and they had a chance in Game 4 in San Antonio to basically knock the Spurs out. I mean, you go up 3-1, you got 2 of the last 3 at home. The Thunder, if they beat the Spurs in that game in San Antonio, do the Spurs really have any hope of coming back at that point? I don't think so. But what happens, the Spurs come out awesome in Game 4. The Thunder, they basically got drilled the entire second half, and actually a decent chunk of the second quarter as well. But then when they need to, they turn around and win Game 5. Just like when they need to win Game 2, they revved up and got that done. So they win. I mean, this is how they went through the final. I mean, they had a long series with the Pacers last year. It ended up going 7, and I thought there were a couple times where they were going to put the Pacers away, and they didn't, and the thing just kept dragging on and on. And eventually they won, and they're the champs, so I guess you can say, what does it matter? but it feels like it could matter. Maybe it feels like it should matter. They needed 7 to beat Denver last year. Couldn't do it. And they were down 2-1 to Denver, and they were down 2-1 to Indiana. I don't get it sometimes with these guys. But they rallied both times to get it done, and they won the title. And they're up 3-2 on San Antonio. So one more win, they're off tonight. And then again, tomorrow night they'll be in San Antonio, and we'll see if they win or if they play with their food. That's the best analogy I've got for you. I thought they played with their food up by 20 in the third quarter. A little run there. It goes to 25 or 30. 20 is not safe. We see comebacks. We just saw the Knicks do it, right? That was like 22. And sure enough, the Spurs got back. They got it to 10. They actually got it down to 8. Maybe it was a little smaller than that, 6 or 7. They never got it to 5. And then the Thunder, they did enough. They got it across the finish line. I thought several intriguing things happened in this game. Really disappointed for Victor Wembanyama. 20 points, 6 rebounds. And the 20 points isn't enough. He needs to be 30-point guy. He was 4 of 15 from the floor. I'll give him credit for going 12 of 12 from the line, getting there and getting them go. He was 0 of 5 on three-pointers and 2 of 10 on the twos. He missed an alley-oop layup or dunk. You're 7'4". I don't know how that happens. And Mike Tirico, who is always going to say the nicest thing possible on the broadcast, he's like, oh, the timing wasn't right. I'm like, okay, a little guy has to jump and the timing has to be right. He's 7'4". He basically sticks his arms in the air and he's right at the rim. There's not that much timing. Catch the ball. And he kind of fumbled the ball. And I can live with all of that. I don't like it. But the 6 rebounds, come on. You got to go get the ball. You got to be more aggressive than that. You got to play with, as coaches like to say, you got to play with more force than that. Hartenstein had 15 boards and Holmgren had 11. It was clearly their mission to neutralize Wembanyama, and they ended up dominating him. They ended up dominating the backboards. Oklahoma City wins the battle of the backboards 48-41. More possessions, more shots, less time defending. Fantastic. There were other things about this game that were not fantastic. Certainly, the Spurs hurt themselves from 3. They were 12 of 41. That was a big problem. I think the thing I really like about the game is there were 70 free throws. 70 free throws is a ton of free throws. And that is just 51 fouls and the game constantly stopping. And Tony Brothers was a referee, and they've swapped out a lot of the veteran refs. I don't know nearly as many referees as I used to. Obviously, they still know Tony Brothers. And, you survey NBA players, and they don't like Scott Foster, and they don't like Tony Brothers. And Brothers has a reputation for making the game about him and calling too many ticky-tack fouls. I will say that I got to cut him a little slack on that. Even though I didn't like the tempo of the game, I thought they called a lot of stuff. Now, they clearly missed some stuff. I mean, they were so asleep at the wheel on that goaltending call. And then shortly after that, a ball went off Holmgren's shoe out of bounds. They gave the ball to OKC. The Spurs asked, you could see, they were literally asking for the replay, and the refs just didn't give it to them. I did see people on Twitter complain. It's just like, okay, this is the worst game. They can't be this bad in this big a game. Like, man, I worked in Sacramento and I worked in Utah, and I have seen both fan bases just enraged by referees' decisions in big games, the Jazz against the Bulls and the Kings against the Lakers. And so when people say, I can't believe that happened, this can't happen at this level. Yeah, it can. It's been happening for years at this level. You can go conspiracy theory if you want. You can just say the game's hard to referee. You can say these guys are inept, whatever. We've seen it in baseball as well. Maybe we'll see less of it now with the automatic balls and strikes. They're just umpires. You wonder why they're in the major leagues. They miss so many calls. I don't know. I don't think anyone tuned in saying, man, I hope I see 51 fouls and 70 free throws tonight. But the players helped, man. There were a lot of fouls out there. There were a lot. They clearly let some stuff go. So now it's 3-2, and I would expect that the Thunder are going to win one of these last 2. I just think we're seeing the Spurs youth here. They played good games, but do they realize the level you have to sustain to win 4 times in a series? And I would say the answer to that is no. And it's also not the end of the world because they got key players who are 20, 21, and 22. The answer is no for most players 24 and under. You know, it used to be 27 was the age. I think LeBron was 27, Jordan and Shaq were 27 when they won their first titles. Now we're starting to see players win at a slightly younger age, right? Maybe at 25, you're in your prime now. These guys play more games. They come out of college earlier and in the pros longer. And so I could buy that, but not 20, 21, and 22. They just aren't. It's a big ask. And maybe the Spurs are so talented to pull it off. But, man, that was a missed opportunity last night. You're getting your guys back. You know, Harper's back. He's playing. He's coming off the bench. He's not good, but at least you got him. The Thunder are missing their second leading scorer. Jalen Williams is out. He's just sitting there over on street clothes on the bench. That's an opportunity. They're missing a key guy, and they're missing Mitchell, who's played well for him off the bench as well. Just doesn't matter, man. The Thunder just keep rolling. 127-114. They're up 3-2. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got Austin Ainge. We had him on during the show yesterday. We'll play that conversation for you coming up. And also, we'll go to Arizona State and ASU football, spring football tour. How good are the Devils? Need a new quarterback, but you got a coach there you can trust to develop quarterbacks. So that's on the way. Stay with us. Spring football tour coming up next right here on The Zone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now it's the final days of our Everything's on Sale event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses. Our Memorial Day event ends Monday. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life's sleep.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car's gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're doing our spring football tour. If you're missing these, they're up on YouTube, wherever you want to get your podcasts. KSLSports.com. I'm linking to a lot of them on my social media feeds, Apple, Spotify, wherever you want to go, you can get them. Chris Karpman talking Arizona State football. Need a new quarterback this year, but ASU coming off first a conference title and then 6-3 in the league. You go 7-2, 6-3. You're one of the better teams in the Big 12. If they negotiate this quarterback change, you got to give it up, man. The Devils are in the top quarter, top third of the league in the long run. If they do it again, I don't see how you can say anything else. So here's Chris Karpman talking football with PK and I. Chris, good morning.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
We're doing well. Thanks for joining us for a spring football tour. We're trying to get Ute and Cougar fans, get them up to speed on the competition. And I think ASU is on the brink of being perennial competition. They put together 2 good years, one great year, but one good year. And I'm intrigued by the way the program is changing. I mean, times are changing, the rules are changing. But I was reading this summary of where the Devils stand after spring. And there's this line, basically the writer is saying, Dillingham has said that to move big, strong people, you need to have bigger, stronger people, and that the size difference this year appears obvious on the offensive line. We listened to Kyle Whittingham forever, and Kalani Sitake worked for him, so he thinks the same way. When the O-line, when the D-line, everything else gets a lot more clear. It gets a lot simpler. I've always felt like Arizona State had great skill players, but the O-line, maybe. Depends on the year. What do you think about this O-line?
Yeah. If you really zoom out even more than that, Kenny Dillingham has talked for years about Kyle Whittingham's Utah program being his North Star. When he arrived at ASU, he said the discipline, the structure, the physicality, the ability to wear on your opponents at the line of scrimmage, that was what he was pursuing. That was what he was orienting his program to try to be. So they lost Maxi Hanachor, who was a first-round NFL draft pick at right tackle, and they also lost a few other guys that were starters or part-time starters. And even with that, their offensive line looks like it hasn't lost a beat. They added Tana Alo-Tupuola from Georgia Tech. He was a starter last year as a sophomore. Remember Haynes King? They had one of the best rushing attacks in the country. And Tana Alo-Tupuola was a really big factor in that. He reminds me a lot, in fact, of Lee Faltanu, who was ASU starting center 2 years ago in the Big 12 championship season. So that's a big development. Mekhi Stewart was a starter last year in the second half of the season at right guard as a true freshman, and he's one of the best-looking guard prospects that I've seen at ASU in recent decades. Like, he's an NFL guy, still young, but massive. He's like 350 or close to that pounds and 6'5", very physical, heavy hands. They have at tackle two guys returning who started in the Sun Bowl against Duke in Jalen Clem and Chance Westbrooks, both of whom are in a reasonably decent chance to be able to start this year. So the size and physicality really at both sides of the line of scrimmage and throughout the whole team, including in their secondary, getting longer and more athletic, it was definitely noticeable this spring that continues to uptick.
We know they lost Sam Levitt to the big money of LSU, Raleek Brown to the big money of Texas, and Jordan Tyson to the big money of the NFL. Now, I know that they brought in a number of transfer receivers, including a kid from Colorado like Jordan Tyson, so they're extremely high on him and a couple other guys. Quarterbacks, they brought in a kid who used to be at Fresno, a kid who used to be at Kentucky, started, a New Mexico kid, they have a high school kid, and then the kid from El Paso. So they got a number of kids to choose from. And then I think at running back, they got Brown, the other Brown, Kyson, I think his first name is, back. He had an injury-plagued season. So could you just evaluate those three positions? Because those are three high-profile guys that they lost.
Yeah, exactly. Wide receiver looks to be in very good shape. Omarion Miller is a Colorado transfer. Jordan Tyson had transferred from Colorado also. Reed Harris transferred from Boston College. He's 6'5", 220, tremendous catch radius, had a very productive spring. He's different than guys that ASU's typically had. And then Raiden Vinesbright had 20-something catches last year as a true freshman at Washington. He's originally from Tempe. So that was arguably the top transfer trio wide receivers of any team in the country. Like Miller and Harris were both ranked in the top 5. So that's going to help ASU try to get past the loss of Jordan Tyson. And nobody's going to be as good as Tyson, but I think collectively they might actually end up being as good or better because they also returned Jalen Moss, who had a really big game in the Sun Bowl, and Jaron Hamilton, who's a big play guy, and Derek Eusebio, who's a good slot receiver. At running back, you nailed it. Like Raleek Brown, he cost like a lot of money, like probably more than what the rest of ASU's running backs combined cost between revenue share and NIL. And yet the group still looks very good. Kyson Brown got hurt, as you said, against Mississippi State. He had been the starter ahead of Raleek Brown at the beginning of last year before the injury. And he had a good spring. ASU added a kid named Marquise Gillis that I think people are going to come to learn a lot about. He ran for 1,100 yards last year at Delaware State, playing for Clinton Portis and Deshaun Jackson, and looked very good. In the second part of spring, he's 225 to 230 pounds, but still a good athlete, runs well. He's a hard dude to tackle. And they have Jason Brown, who had 130 rushing yards against Duke in the Sun Bowl. So they're, I think, going to be in good shape at running back, even with that loss. Quarterback, I think, is the most important position to evaluate on the team. Cutter Boley started as a redshirt freshman last year at Kentucky. Difficult schedule, super tough in the SEC, a little bit turnover prone. I think he had 10 interceptions and lost a few fumbles. So that's going to have to be managed. But he did a very good job in the second half of spring of avoiding any jeopardy throws in scrimmages that we saw, and looked like he's able to get the ball quickly to facilitate the offense, and he has the ability to get the ball down the field. He's 6'5", 220, big kid. So I think he's going to be the starter. I would say 80% likely that he's going to be the starter. Mikey Keene's a very good backup. He had started at Fresno State and UCF, and they have a freshman, Jake Fetty, from El Paso, who looks like a future star. He's actually quite similar to Sam Levitt in terms of his physical attributes, and his sort of talent level really pops. He's probably the second best looking true freshman that I've seen in spring ball in recent decades after Jaden Daniels.
We can talk about offense all we want, and I grew up watching Eric Coryell and the Chargers, so I can talk about offense all day long. But Texas Tech and BYU rode two really good defenses to the Big 12 title game. ASU was third against the rush. They were 13th against the pass. What has been done to upgrade the pass defense?
Yeah, they added a lot of experience and length. Free safety was a problem to some degree last year after Xavier Alford had a back injury that didn't allow him to play almost at all. And to try to improve that position, they added Lyric Rawls, who led Kansas in unassisted tackles last season. He's a senior veteran presence. He started at multiple Big 12 schools. I think he's come in and he immediately became a team captain, which is tough to do. So I think that's going to shore up that position. They added Ashton Stamps, corner from LSU. He was a 2-year starter, and then last year he was their number 3 corner, which at LSU is really nothing to slouch at. He was, I think, second in the SEC in 2024 in pass breakups. So with Keith Abney going to the draft, Javen Robinson going to Wisconsin, he's a really important player. They also have Rodney Bimage, who I think he's a sophomore. He's been one of their most talented young players on the roster, and I think he's kind of ready to step into a much bigger role and probably start. They added a few other transfer corners. The big thing is a lot more length. All these guys are over 6 foot, and they're longer bodied. Brian Ward, ASU's defensive coordinator, loves to play a lot of cover 3 zone, and he wanted to get guys that have more opportunity to get their hands in passing lanes and on the football. And then I think that they have a few other safeties that are very intriguing. Boogie Wilson, who started in place of Alford at free safety, will probably move down to play nickel. And Montana Warren's a team captain who's a very physical player. He's been a top backup in recent years, and he's got a very good chance now going into his junior season to play the strong safety position. Overall, I think that's kind of where they need to really show up, because I feel like their front 6 is in very good shape going into this year.
For a while there, they couldn't kick a field goal to save their lives. Last year, their punting team sucked. And so I know they had the one kicker was a senior. So tell us the status of their place kicking and their punting.
Yeah, you correctly said that. They were the worst punting team that I've ever seen. I think they were second worst nationally in net punting average. So it was awful. And Dillingham was extremely candid about his frustrations about that, and he has been the last couple of years. Their starting punter last year had a quad injury, and he was sort of like playing at maybe 80% for a lot of the year when he was able to play. But even when he was 100%, there were consistency issues, and especially with his field flipping and pin punting. And so they added Nick McClarty from Ohio State. He's an Australian. He was the backup early in his career at Ohio State. Huge leg. He's 6'7", 255 pounds.
Ooh.
And there were, I'm not exaggerating, there were like times when he hit 80-plus yard punts. His consistency when they get into 11-on-11 settings in terms of how quickly he's able to go through the mechanics and get the football off, that's not as dialed in as you would want it to be. But I think he's making progress, and he has a chance to really upgrade that position.
Okay, well, I'm not going to go to the fridge for more food when ASU's punting then, because either he completely flips the field and it pins the other team and the defense. What an advantage for them, right? Or he gets it blocked and it's a score the other way. So I got to watch. I got to watch when ASU punts.
Yeah, no, it's true. When you're not worried about people coming at you, you can uncork pretty big ones consistently, and he did. But then, when you get the 11 guys out there,
it's different.
It was a little bit more inconsistent. Yeah,
it's different. Absolutely. Yeah, I back in the day I had some personal experience with that. I can attest that's all true. There's horrific stories. Horrific. Yeah. On the whole, do people feel good enough about the direction of this program that they're going to invest in it? Because I think what we're seeing in college football now is the teams that are winning, I don't know how they do it, but somehow they get out, they find people with money, and they give. And when the team is struggling, there's a little doubt, people hold back their money. Sometimes they even say, well, I'm going to hold it back for 1 year because this coach is going to be gone. These are stories we're hearing out of Baylor, that there's money trees they can't shake because people don't completely buy into Aranda. So where does that sit? Because we know money's been a big issue with ASU.
Yeah, it's better than it's been at any point in this modern era that we're in right now. In fact, a booster named Brian Sweetie, who had been a senior executive at several major companies, including eBay and Pepsi, he's committed $10 million in an endowment that's going to be in Kenny Dillingham's name that ASU is going to be able to utilize how it wants. And then there was also around a $10 million donation that's part of a naming rights gift that's going to be on ASU's new indoor practice facility, which they're going to break ground on here in the next few months. They sold out every game last year, and I think that there's more of an ability for Dillingham to connect with boosters than his predecessors by far. So I think that there's been a pretty marked uptick in terms of the amount of support. ASU had the top 15 to 20 transfer portal class in the country, which, as you guys know, that's not possible unless you have a little bit more money to throw around to some of those transfers. I don't think ASU is quite to the level of BYU probably at this point in terms of how flush it is with cash for its roster. And certainly not close to Texas Tech, but I would put ASU in the tier that would be below those teams, like among the other best teams in the Big 12. And I think that the roster is reflecting that.
Yeah, I think you did a podcast with that Sweetie, if I remember correctly, and I listened to it. It made me a little nervous. I know that he did a few podcasts, but when he started talking about how the offense needs to be a little more creative, that made me a little uncomfortable right there because, okay, donate your money, but don't tell me how to run a football team in a program.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. The backstory on that, though, is he has a very good relationship with Kenny Dillingham, like personal relationship. In fact, he is hosting ASU staff and some other people at his home for a party in next weekend. And so there's and another aspect about Dillingham is he's extremely self-critical and very much willing to listen to people's perspectives to challenge his way of thinking. So I think that Brian Sweetie kind of goes in that mode. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that coaches really want to hear from boosters about their football opinions. Generally, I get that. I think in this particular case, though, it's given their relationship, as I understand it, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
That is hilarious, though. I like that. Although if they have that kind of relationship, he might be quoting Kenny. He might literally be quoting him. Like Kenny's like, I want to open it up. But you got to have the right guys before you open it up. So there might be that kind of conversation. Who knows?
Yeah, it's funny. During spring ball, Kenny ran over to Jalen Strong, former ASU star wide receiver, who I was talking to at the time, and he said, some words to that effect, basically, about certain types of throws and routes and whatever. I don't want to give away too much, but because of the private thing. But I think that there's some truth to what you just said.
Yeah.
The recruiting news this week was big with the Hildebrand kid. one of the Chandler schools. I can't remember which one. He's the number one player in the state for what it's worth. And that's the first time since N'Keal Harry. Now, N'Keal Harry, I believe, was raised by his grandmother over there in the East Valley and wanted to stay local. I listened to Hildebrand. He's talking about his grandfather wants to see him play, served in multiple U.S. wars and all that stuff. So a very patriotic man there. I'm wondering, is that a circumstantial thing or more of a kind of sign of the times that finally there's a breakthrough with the Sun Devils being able to recruit some of the better players locally?
Yeah, you guys do a very good job of digging in the crates to find all of the really important things that are going on. I'm impressed. I would say it's a combination of both. His family, his grandfather has ASU season tickets. I talked to him for a while the other day. He has been going to ASU football games since 1961. And Jake Hildebrand's family is extremely close-knit and very grounded. And I think that the ability to have that support system be close to him for college was very important to him and his dad. I think it mattered a lot to him, who's been extremely involved in his athletics career to this point. And Jake grew up going to ASU football games, and it mattered a lot. But then also he said to me, look, Maxie Honachor didn't even play high school football. And 4 years later, he's getting drafted in the first round. And that's not possible without the development of ASU's offensive line coach, Songa Tuitele, who's done a very good job and turned down USC and some other big jobs. Like, he's as good as any offensive line coach that I've seen at ASU when you're factoring in the evaluations, the recruiting, the development piece, schematics. So I think, there's a little more interest in ASU locally. It's still very tough to get the top players, especially when a lot of them are being offered more money to go elsewhere. But the way that the local recruits perceive the Sun Devils has definitely changed under Dillingham's tenure.
Well, forget that old cliche, recruit the mom, recruit the grandparents. That seems to be paying off.
Yeah, I mean, when you can. That's
right, yeah, when
idea.
you can, sure. Yeah. All right, well, Chris, we appreciate – one last thing before I let you go. PK is an ASU grad, so that's part of the reason – it's a big part of the reason we're so dialed in on the program. And one of his theories – and I'll ask this so it doesn't sound as bad as when it comes out of his mouth. One of his theories, though, is both Arizona and ASU have had problems keeping local guys home. Both of them have had big years but have had problems sustaining it. But there's actually – maybe there's an opportunity here. Do you think there's a chance that – Arizona can follow up what they did last year and ASU can follow up what they did the last 2 years? That would be kind of a high watermark for the two programs together.
Yeah, I haven't studied Arizona's roster departures and arrivals quite as well. I think that they probably are not going to take a big step back, if it is at all. I think ASU looks definitely like a bowl team. It's hard to really compare that to what other Big 12 teams look like right now because we're in this world in which the transfer portal changes so much. So, but look, Dillingham is really good. I can't stress enough. Like, I've gotten to know these coaches personally, the last 5 ASU football coaches. He's superior. Like, he's easily more impressive when you actually get into the weeds on issues and you talk about things at any level of depth. I think he's competitive, hungry. He could have gone to Michigan. I don't know how clearly that's been really reported, but Michigan aggressively courted Kenny Dillingham before hiring Kyle Whittingham. Not saying that he's a better coach than Kyle Whittingham by any stretch, but he is a lot younger and of the same ilk in a lot of ways. And Dillingham decided to stay. And he did that because of the support that he feels like is in place at ASU and the opportunity that they have in the Big 12. So I don't really see ASU taking any sort of a big dip to the backward, even after losing so many starters.
All right, there is Chris Karpman, the spring football tour. And we'll take a break. When we come back, Austin Ainge talking hoops and Jazz and the draft and summer moves. Stay with us.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope. She bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Austin Ainge gave us a few minutes yesterday. Looking ahead to the draft, we're about a month out. What are the Jazz going to do? How many things do they definitely know at this point? How many things still have to be known and learned and more research to be done? Austin Ainge addressing that with PK and I right here on The Zone. Austin, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
The draft is still a few weeks away here. Do you have an idea how it's going to play out now? I know you've been working on it for a while, but there's still time for curveballs here. What's your level of confidence that you could predict now what's going to happen then?
Well, I will say that, all the permutations to 2 are a little easier than in years past, DJ. But, no, I don't think we know. I'm not sure the teams know. I'm not sure we know exactly what we're going to do. I don't know if other teams are either. There's still a lot of information that can be gained in this time of year, and everyone tries to go slow and get it right.
Yeah, Austin, that leads me into my very first question. Because it's 2 draft position as opposed to 5 and 6 and so forth, the field as far as potentials are a little more narrow, obviously, because it's higher. What type of work does you and your people, your staff, the management need to do between now and, I guess, draft night, knowing that it's a little bit different because you are drafting so high?
Yeah, so kind of this time of year, what we do is we pour over the medical stuff, right? That's a huge thing that we have not had access to in the past, and we make sure we get experts to look at any issues that arise. And, these guys all got tested in various different ways at the combine, and we'll be getting some of these things, some of these reports in this week. And so we'll do a lot of that work. We will get a chance to meet with these guys again and talk with them and try to get them to know them better as people. And then we continue to watch film. We'll go back and watch, in some cases all the way back through their high school seasons and through their college season, and just, with a narrowed focus on a narrow range now, we'll go just extra deep and make sure we've got the full scope and all the information fresh in our minds and do the best we can.
In the past, we've seen the Jazz draft, whatever year, 8, 10, 15, and they bring a lot of guys through for workouts. And you see a lot of players who end up, Steven Adams came through at one point, they didn't draft him, but you see players like that who go on to really good careers. But what's the cutoff? I know the top guys don't usually work out, and when you're drafting too, I don't know if guy 10 wants to work out for you and spend all that energy and get on a flight. What is the cutoff there as far as getting guys to work out for you?
Yeah, your instinct is right there that the guys that feel like they're and that we communicate that we're serious about, will come in, but it's not a huge list. And the guys at this range of the draft, it was the same last year at 5. They come in and typically do an interview and then a little shooting workout, not live against other people, and so. There's a limited amount of information you can gain from that, and we try to not overrate it or underrate it, just properly put it in its place and add it to the pile of information we're gathering. I would say the most important thing is we just get them to spend time with coach and us and have a dinner and have a breakfast and just really get to know them as people. Because honestly, none of these players are ready-made. None of them are good enough right now. They all need to progress, and who they are determines that as much as their talent.
So all of us are fired up about the draft, but everything happens so quickly because then you have the free agency that hits immediately, basically right afterward, and maybe a day or two or a week between, but you get the point. And so we focus on the draft, but how about adding talent through trade acquisitions or free agency? How much of that do you anticipate?
I mean, definitely some. It's hard to anticipate exactly how much, but we'll try to be aggressive, appropriately aggressive in adding and making our team better. We have some free agents of our own from the team. There's some free agents out there. We could go a few different directions to address some of the weaknesses, and some of that will be determined by which position we draft, right? So there's a lot to do, and most of our roster is built in that end of June, beginning of July, and it's a busy time and an important time. So we've got a lot of work to do. The teams in the West are really good, and the teams in the league are really smart, and the rules will be different next year. So there'll be a lot of changes. It'll be a lot more competitive and challenging, and we're very aware that we got to take a big jump here in a lot of different ways. But we're pretty excited about the group, the talent level, and some of the progress we're seeing from some of the players.
Obviously, the other roster moves depend on which player you end up getting with the draft, but you can't draft a veteran. Do you need a veteran ball handler or two around the perimeter?
Well, it's definitely something we're looking at. I mean, look, there's the way I would say it, DJ, is that you've got specific needs, and sometimes those needs are glaring enough that you just go get a player that fits them. Mm-hmm. But they have to be good enough in the end, right? So, I want a shooter, I want a shot blocker, I want a ball handler. But if they're not good enough to play in the playoffs, then it doesn't help you. So we have to be able to get the guys that are good enough to play. And I think we have an amazing coaching staff that I think can figure a lot of things out. So I would say need is definitely a discussion, but also overall quality. And you're just balancing those things.
You talk about getting guys who are good enough to play. This question excludes Ace Bailey and Keontae George, but there was a number of guys who've been brought on the team in the last 3 years. Do you believe that they are good enough?
I mean, some of them, and some of them are getting better every day, and they just need to be good enough by the playoffs or by the regular season. So we've got a lot of guys getting better. I feel like we've got a number of guys that can play. Some of it is also the role you're put in, right? Yeah, if you're asked to do too much, sometimes as a young player, you can look inefficient or out of place. And then, when the top of the roster is a little more in place, their job gets easier or a little more focused. And, but a lot of this remains to be seen. We got a lot of figuring out to do in the season, and a lot of competition going on for those minutes and possessions and role. And I'm really excited for it. Our guys are pumped. They're in the gym right now working out. We've got a big group, including Jaren. He's looking great, looking healthy, and pumped.
Defensively, this team has been 29th or 30th for quite a stretch, going over a couple of years now. And obviously there's a lot of reasons for that, and some of those reasons are going to go away. How good can they get and how quickly? Can this be a top 10 defensive team next year? Can it be top 5? It's going to be a lot of size and athletic ability, which ought to help.
Yeah, I mean, we sure hope we make a big jump there. That was definitely a big consideration in bringing in Jaren, who's a former Defensive Player of the Year and a guy who can cover up a lot of weaknesses of other players and can play multiple positions. But we also know that, one player doesn't you can't do it all. So we need improvement throughout the roster, and we need, defense is also something we're considering strongly in the draft and in free agency. So I think there's a lot of ways we need to address it: internal improvement, external improvement, and just a little more size and talent on the floor should help all those things. I have high expectations for this group in a big improvement, but I'm trying to avoid specific numbers. I don't like putting the pressure or the limits of numbers, right? I don't want to put limits on these guys, nor do I want to put the pressures, but we try to put pressure in process. And so far, I'm very pleased seeing how hard everyone's working and the focus on even the player development on defense. It will be a big emphasis all summer.
Journalism these days, particularly sports journalism, as you know full well, it's devolved into sources said, right? Sources are all over the place these days, I guess. And so obviously, the Jazz have reached out to Washington. I'm going to ask you a general question, so it's not anything specific. But when deals are made, what is the process in terms of Team A calling Team B or Team B calling Team A? Could you just walk us through generally how these things work?
Yeah. Well, I will say, PK, the way things generally work is not you call and make a trade offer the day after the lottery. So that was pretty ridiculous. So generally trades happen like this, right? Like we talk all the time with other teams. We see each other at places like the Combine and Summer League and college games and NBA games and G League games. And we call and we check in periodically, during the season. I would say once a month. During this time of year, more frequently. And we have conversations. And who do you like? Who do you not like? What are you looking for? What type of players do you need? And then if there's we maybe have extras of something and they need something, maybe, okay, do you like these guys? No. What about at this price? No. And we just kind of communicate in general terms about kind of our goals and needs as a team. Well, hey, we kind of like this guy, if you ever like to move him. And then maybe a year later they come back and said, hey, we're thinking of moving this guy, or we're looking for this. Is this something you'd still be interested in? You just kind of have these general conversations a lot, and to get a feel for where teams are at. And it's of both teams' interests to communicate a little bit what we're trying to do so we can try to get something done, right? If there's something that works for both teams. And then, if there's something that in general terms makes a little bit of sense, you go, okay, I'd give you a first-round pick for that guy, or I'd give you 2 seconds for this point guard. And they go, oh, no, that's way too high. And you say, well, let us know if there's anything. And then you both hang up and you just sit and wait and see if anybody budges. So it's not like you're not like convincing people. They all have their own evaluations, just like we do. So you don't sit there and try to sell, well, this guy has really done this and this and this, and look at his stats. Like, they roll their eyes. They don't want to hear that, So it's really just kind of look, I'd do it at this price, but not at this. If you want to come back, call me. Or if you want to add in this other player, and you just kind of do general terms. And it's a lot of sitting and waiting, and seeing if something budges. So that's kind of how it goes.
All right, there's Austin Ainge. Thanks to him for coming on. We appreciate that. When we come back, what is trending? Headlines are next.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.